Hello, and welcome to the C3 podcast, Code Conscious Conversations. I'm Dr. Lisa Piper, here with my business partner, Wendy Cohn-Osborne, and we are the founders of Code Health.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to have both of you. We have Anthony and TereZa Lolli, the dynamic power couple behind Lolli Brands Entertainment, as our special guests today. They have a wealth of experience in the entertainment industry. Anthony and TereZa have proven themselves to be a formidable team. And by the way, they are just so stinking cute together as a couple. But from producing acclaimed films to developing cutting-edge marketing strategies, this dynamic duo has truly made a mark in the industry. And I feel like even with all of your accomplishments, you've just begun. We are truly looking forward to getting behind the scenes in all of the insights on what it takes to succeed as a power couple in the world of entertainment, fitness, real estate, and now we can add that famous word, biohacking, to the list. Welcome, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you. So, you guys are in the business of producing documentaries. I think you have 6 or 7, and you started this whole thing with your fitness journey. Tell us about Lolli Brands Entertainment for those who have never heard of it.
Well, it started about a year or two before I met TereZa. So my real estate background, when I was doing real estate, I launched a big company, about 100 locations. And in the natural order of things, you start coming across luxury opportunities where you're now coming across celebrities and people in different industries, and entertainment being a major industry in New York City. So I started doing transactions and deals with people from that world. And so that opened up a whole new Rolodex of relationships. So I started now housing and providing locations. And then I had a beautiful home in New York. And then that was also used as a location for music videos and for movies. And it had a pool and a movie theater and all these beautiful things. And then consequently, I have a Rolls Royce. So those things are very attractive for music videos as well. So I was in that world. And so I said, why don't I form an entertainment company to kind of hold those transactions and nurture those relationships? And then, a year later, I meet TereZa, who happened to have a big resume of doing things in the entertainment industry, singing and acting and doing stuff with Netflix. So it was just almost like meant to be that our two worlds kind of intertwined. And then we just decided together as a couple to kind of do it as a family, even before we had children.
That's awesome. Yeah. Speaking of family, Lisa and I both love how you include your beautiful children in everything you do. Love and Legend. How old are they now?
They're 6 and 8. Love is 8. Legend is 6.
And I was actually watching an interview that the two of you did. And TereZa, how you just focused on being the best parent that you could possibly be. It's obvious that you bring your children into this world that you live in. And it's so refreshing to see parents that work side by side with their children.
Yes.
What is it like being a parent and traveling and doing all of these things as a family?
Oh, it's amazing. So the moment we found out that we were pregnant with Love, that was it for me. I pivoted and I basically left everything that I was doing for myself as an actor, as a musician. And I said, I would want to spend every single second with my child. You only get one chance to enjoy those years. And I always thought the career would be there when I want to. So then when Love was born, I still had the itch. And I was like, how can I continue to build upon my career and my interests, but stay with my child? Well, let me just profile for her, right? Maybe she can book jobs and I'll be the real mom. And so continuously we were having fun, and her personality was so magnetizing, so incredible. She was such an easy and happy kid on set with different adults. most kids don't have that kind of trust factor with grown-ups, but she had. So that kind of catapulted, and we were having so much fun. She was booking all these national commercials, print, even film, and then, continuously growing in the industry and making a name for herself. And then Legend also, in the natural order of things, when he was born right away at 2 weeks old, he was booking jobs. And in fact, they were getting paid and for their work, and they made a lot of money where they were able to buy an investment property. And at the age of 6 and 8, they're the youngest landlords. I mean, I looked on Google and I've searched if this is something that every actor child does, but I haven't seen any records. So the work for them is fun. Traveling with them is incredible. I mean, when else do you get to realize your passion and your hobbies and stay together as a unit? So this industry has given us that opportunity.
I think my rendition of TereZa being a super mom, this was all really her doing, is the fact that we can work guilt-free. Mm-hmm. The cost for success is how much life you want to give up. And so fortunately, having children in a later stage in our lives, or me, I'm 47, TereZa's 37, I was a little bit more established. I was able to kind of focus on being a dad and being a husband and all that kind of stuff. But whereas now going into these new ventures that are often time consuming and involve, mental and physical commitment, we don't have to sacrifice time with our kids. So actually, TereZa's idea was, why don't we just put them into the fabric of our operation? So this way we can, put in longer than your typical hours because they're there and we're not sacrificing their upbringing.
And that's always been the conversation, right? Once you become a mom, you have to kind of take a step back. At least in my country, that's how I was raised. It's a traditional way of being for a wife or a mom. You step back and you become mom, and that's it. And, I've worked so hard and I dreamed so hard to come to this country 15 years ago with $300 in my pocket. And I always had these dreams and aspirations of changing the world, making a change. And this all started when my nickname, in my country was, "Oh, you're like Mother TereZa," because I used to defend all the kids that get bullied. So I think that got through my head really deep during my developing ages. So I really have been living this life of I am Mother TereZa and I have to make an impact. So how do you not sacrifice both your passion, your mission, and what you're born and raised for, and then being a great mom? You just combine it, right? You don't want to sacrifice any of that.
You are Mother TereZa, but with a capital V. That's the difference.
And now Wendy Cohen without
the E. Without the E.
I have a whole joke. Matt, it was a PR announcement. Everyone has been messing up her last name with the E. It's an inside joke.
Yeah. And then even yesterday or 2 days ago when we were on another show, then the Osborne, they left the E out. So
I'm always the E. It's always
the E. So and TereZa messages me. She says, "It's the E," and she writes E all along.
I told her to put HN in capital letters.
Right.
No, I think that'll stick.
Yeah. Yes. But, speaking of parents, the one thing that I learned about both of you is that your mom, Anthony, comes with you and is with you all the time. And I learned this while I was watching your documentary, Fat Lolli, Six Pack Lolli. And as I was watching and just learning all these things about you, your mindset, your work ethic, your resilience, and everything that went along with it, the one thing that stuck out in the back of my mind was the relationship that you have with your mother, and that you include her in everything you do. And then I hope that you'll be able to tell us this story when you were a little boy, because I know both of your parents played such an integral role in who you are today and watching them.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, what you just mentioned was also clutch for my relationship with TereZa, because she saw that and said, how he treats his mom is how he's going to treat me. So that was also a key factor in why we're even together, because TereZa came from the country of Armenia, where she has a different mindset, traditional values, and things like that. But yes, my mother was an immigrant. She left Ecuador to leave a bad marriage. And so she came here with $20 in her pocket, knew no one, and didn't even speak English, lived in an abandoned building, met other immigrants, and then eventually worked in sweatshops, and then put herself through beauty school. And by mere relationships, ended up becoming a home attendant. And as a home attendant, she happened to take care of a very nice lady named Mrs. Zappi. She was an Italian lady and who had 4 sons, 2 doctors and 2 lawyers. And so she said, I'm going to teach you how to raise good men. So at the time, my mom has my half-brother who's 65 now. So she left to come to the United States to work in those sweatshops and do those things to provide better education for him in Ecuador. So she taught her all these tricks of the trade on how to raise boys the right way. So eventually when she had me, she, really put those principles in there. But, my dad was a World War II veteran, Italian descent, and became a public school teacher. So I didn't grow up with a lot of means. And, I recognized that my dad was being very strategic in putting us in nice neighborhoods. But in New York City, we have the benefit of rent control. So we were living in more expensive apartments in nicer neighborhoods with a cheaper rent. So all of my neighbors and my friends were wealthy, but we weren't. When I would go with my mom to Saks Fifth Avenue, she would go in and try on fur coat, try on expensive perfumes, but never buy anything, put the stuff back on the rack. And so it didn't dawn on me that we didn't have money until one day, as a kid at the time, when you're watching Saturday morning cartoons, they're inundating you with products and commercials and stuff. So there was this really cool waterproof watch that was $12 at the time. And I really wanted it. And I would see it in the Macy's display on our way to my mom doing her trying on clothes, fantasizing exercise. So I kept tugging on her skirt about buying this watch. And she said, no. And then finally, with tears in her eyes, she said, no. And I kept asking, why? It's only $12. My friends have it. Like, what's up? She said, we can't afford it. And at that moment, it dawned on me what our situation was. And I said, I promised her, I said, one day I'm going to be so rich, I'm going to buy you a white mansion with a white limousine and a chauffeur. You can go shopping unlimited and we'll never feel like this again. And we never talked about it since that day until the day that I closed on my 3rd property. We had a big celebration at the building and she brought it up. She goes, Anthony, I don't want the white limousine, but I want the white mansion. So that was really what I was gunning for. And then I ended up buying a property, and it was a white mansion called the Lolli mansion. That mansion that eventually started the entertainment company that people were shooting movies in and so forth, that also played a role in how TereZa and I got together. So that promise that I made my mom was a consequence of TereZa and I getting together, because we met in a very unique way where she was looking to shoot a music video in a mansion. So,
but let's not forget about all the opportunities your father provided for you as a young marketer. And so his father was a very bohemian man, and unfortunately, I never met him. I feel like we would have been best of friends. Taught guitar, and he was a very just free-spirited, open-minded person, and he didn't really go by the rules, and that was very evident in his upbringing and how he opened up his mind and his understanding of even the teachers.
Well, he graduated with 2 master's degrees from Juilliard, and
certain things you tell me about your child, just like in school environments, and how his father would teach him and arm him with certain information to kind of combat certain things and bullying. And then on top of that, because they didn't have the means, they actually had to do these street entertainment.
So my dad, being a World War II Navy veteran, you get the sailor hat. And so my dad thought of a good opportunity to hustle and put some extra food on the table. Retired as a school teacher with a $400 a month pension was not enough to support the family. My mom, in a natural order of things, they took trips to visit the family. She took him to the jungle. He fell in love with the blue and gold macaw species. So he went and, brought it back to the United States and thought, pirates have birds. Sailors are, like pirates. So why don't I put the bird on my shoulder, get a Polaroid camera, which was a big deal back then, and put a sign that says photo with the parrot on my shirt and put the price on the hat and go around to different places, tourists in New York City, Times Square, Little Italy, the Seaport, and offer people an experience. So my dad was a street entertainer by virtue of photo with the parrot. And so I was his trusty son.
Imagine at 7 years old, he's out there. When you think of upbringing and developing ages for children, how important is it not to fall into these routines that are so-called the norm, like the bedtime routines and this and this and that, that's being taught. Like his mother and father were very, very big on just creating their own routines and not having curfews or doing this. And so thinking outside of the box as a kid gives you these kind of opportunities. Even until today, when we talk about certain endeavors that we go into, there's always an outside of the box, and we pivot quickly every endeavor that we go into. So I think it's very key as a child when you were growing up.
Yeah.
This sounds like inspiration for another documentary about the art of parenting and family. You know, the importance of family and
both tiers of education that's kind of in pre-production and development.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that everybody on the planet should be taught family value and outside the box, like what you're saying, and teaching your kids to go with the flow. So, you know, let's talk about life for a minute, because, you know, with everything that you guys do, you're putting yourself out there, you're on stage, and you're subject to rejection and criticism. And we all have that inner dialogue, that inner voice that kind of guides us in our life. And a lot of people have a voice that tells them stupid stuff and they make mistakes, and other people are just rock solid in their way of thinking. And so what's the mindset that gives you the strength to be authentic and resilient to judgment and criticism? I mean, how do you think?
I say it's a combination of how both of us were raised. For him, the rock solid foundation is this like innate confidence in the execution of everything that we put our minds to. For me, it's the childlike dreamland. And that was given to me by my mom, like kind of pure ignorance and being unabashed about being dreamy and thinking that the world can be your oyster and you can make a difference. So when we collide both of these worlds, yes, there's a lot of moments that, you know, we could pivot this way or that way or stop doing this or that. But again, he's rock solid confidence in execution and the planning and the marketing and everything that we do. And my rock solid. So no matter what we're going through, if it's hard or whatever, we have blockades, we're going to get to this end goal. So, right? I mean,
I think that there's benefit in being aware of criticisms, doubtcasters, things like that, because you can pick the gems. There's always some inkling of truth or some level of improvement. So I think you have to put your ego at the door, look or read and see what these things are, make improvements where necessary, but you don't want to have to cater to everyone else's opinion, because you also want to look where that opinion is coming from and what accomplishments that person, you know, has done. But there's always good gems out of everything that happens in life. The good, bad, or indifferent, you could always learn and grow from everything. It's always a teachable moment, you know. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? The more you think you know, the less you actually know. So you just never know. The brains are so malleable. And, you know, now it's coming to life that there's programming involved, whether someone programmed your brain or whether you programmed your own brain. There's always a level of programming. So, you know, there's people that are trying to program you in other ways, you know, and so you have to kind of be careful and weigh in and have, you know, what TereZa said is look back at your history, your credibility, your resume, a list of accomplishments. And the more you start accomplishing things, the more you hold yourself accountable. Like, for example, for me, the biggest thing was losing weight. And then now the next level of going above and beyond outside health, now focusing on inside health. So the more you start reaching these things, the more you start saying, well, I you know, you don't have that kind of imposter syndrome, you know, because you're not. You actually are living your truth.
Authenticity, right? So you're looking at your goals and you have this vision and you're just setting one goal at a time. And if one thing doesn't get accomplished the way that you thought it should, then you switch directions and you find another way to accomplish it. So it's a very forward-thinking, solution-based mindset. And that's what brings you in that success. It's beautiful to watch.
For us, it's so important to write things down. Like that's been, we already know about visualization powers and manifestation powers. I think the cat is out of the bag where everyone kind of knows that. But what they don't know is how to actually effectively manifest and get things done at a record-breaking time. Like, so right now we have fun challenging ourselves and saying, okay, well, something that we really want and it could be done in 5 years, can we get it done in a year? So that's now because we're very competitive with each other and also with the world and with our past selves. So we're consistently having fun, like playing ping pong with life and with each other. And so we write things down. I think that is the most powerful tool that has ever helped me at the moment of doubt and the moment of weakness. And I go more through these moments because of my hormones. As women, we go through these phases of real femininity where we're so soft and we're so vulnerable. And then, maybe you doubt certain decisions and then all of a sudden you're hardcore. Once you pass your cycle, you're like, yes. As a woman, right, I have been blessed to like really understand who I am, where I am in my day, in my month. And at the weakest moment, I always write things down and I always remind ourselves like what the goals are and the fact that we have the goals and we divide things up into monthly and weekly to-do lists. And at the weakest moment, you just say, okay, keep your head down and just do the to-do list. And when you're up again, you'll get it done. Yeah, you'll get to the end point.
I think our real estate background and entertainment background allows us to go into ventures with an architectural mindset, with blueprints and hiring the right people to accomplish the right job. A business or a venture is a lot like a construction job. The minute you try to play electrician, the minute you try to play plumber, the minute you try to educate yourself on how to do electrical work, how to do plumbing work, you're going to lose time and money and knowledge. So we execute things where we blueprint things, and then we also play devil's advocate. We say, well, what's the worst thing? Or let's really crap on this idea. Let's really add all the obstacles. And how do we overcome those obstacles? How do we avoid those obstacles? And then once you check your ego at the door and say, okay, after you say this is a horrible idea, and then you say, well, actually, it's a really good idea if we do this and this, and here's how we would do it, and here's the best people we could hire, and here's the right experts, and this is the budget. It's much like a real estate development project. And you basically, it becomes easier and it's less hands-on and more being on the business than being in the business.
That's great advice. Really good advice. But, you have to have that foresight and you have to have that personality to do that. And for sure, the two of you together are just a force to be reckoned with. With that being said, I want to touch upon the most exciting thing that you're doing right now. And this is your new platform, Biohack Yourself Media. It's just to take all of these experts and put them all on the same platform and to bring the world this information of biohacking, but in such a unique way. Please just talk to us about that for a moment.
Well, it all started with filming what we thought was going to be a one-part documentary with just a handful of thought leaders and recognized figures in the wellness industry. Once we started shooting, the word got out because it is a very small industry. Everyone knows each other. And so more and more people found that they wanted to be voices in this particular documentary called Biohack Yourself. So it ballooned into a 5-part documentary. And throughout that process, we started establishing genuine relationships with all the cast of Biohack Yourself. And also often, even putting our brains, like Dr. Daniel Amen, we're a client of his, or Dr. David Minkoff, our children and ourselves are. So we started building real solid, authentic relationships on an intimate level, and then providing value to their platforms and amplifying their message and doing things in furtherance of them. So these relationships, we started noticing when we started posting some clips of Biohack Yourself on social media and all of the platforms, we started noticing a bunch of response and viewership and sharing and collaborations from all of the cast. And then their audience started becoming our audience and then becoming cross-pollination of audiences. And because we came into this industry with our expertise and our reputation and our knowledge, we became a neutral party. So as being a neutral party without a product or service or a dog in the race, we started getting a collaboration and cooperation of everyone feeling safe to amplify their message.
It's important to also mention that this platform is by the people, for the people. And it's, we do things differently, as you said. And, we were really concerned that all across the world, people are very aware why J-Lo and Ben Affleck divorced. And when that happened, the entire world immediately knew. And why was that happening? Why was that important? It's because there's a news outlet reporting on this globally. And we recognize there's no new news outlet reporting on longevity information. And it took us almost a year to really dive deep into the longevity world and really understand where we get our information. And then we're looking at the mainstream audiences. How are these people going to understand, and what chance do they have to dive into this world and really be at the same speed as this whole world is moving so fast?
What we notice, and the more and more we think about it, I look at this company called the UFC, right? They're a big, big company. So what Dana White did and the Fertitta brothers is they took a very underground, gritty sport that had a small community of people. And what they did was they professionalized it and they amplified it. They put rules, regulations, and marketing things where everyone can benefit and everyone can actually make money. And you can broadcast things in a very modern, contemporary way. So we saw that the wellness industry and the biohacking industry was very fragmented. There was really no news outlet that was impartial, that would be able to get the collaboration. So when we were looking in the natural order of things to market and promote our films, we always looked to do things in the voices of the community. So if we were doing a music documentary, we would go to, Rolling Stone magazine or the Speak to That Community. So in the natural order of things, we're saying there isn't a platform that is doing that. It's just, the mainstream media or someone else's podcast. So we said, why don't we just do it in a synergistic way and then add all of our knowledge, our expertise, and our fan base and our algorithms?
We brought on board this concept of the gatekeepers, the peer review faculty members that we value highly. These are professional biohackers of 10 years. These are moms. These are doctors who are reviewing. Like, you can't even pay to play on our platform. Let's say you want an ad or a banner ad or something like that. You must be peer reviewed to then get the password where you can actually go ahead and complete, let's say, an ad purchase, right? So we value protecting this platform because Google exists, podcasts already exist, and Instagram exists, and everybody has a megaphone, and this information is so saturated. And I've gone firsthand through being so confused and ending up spending 3 years and $200,000 to figure out why our son Legend, had silent acid reflux and getting all kinds of wrong, diagnosis. I've gone from our son Legend to potentially being on the spectrum and being prescribed wrong medication, to then understanding that he has a copy of MTHFR mutation, that he cannot digest this and this and this, to them putting him on methylated vitamins. And now the kid is thriving and he's a genius. So how do you have such polar opposite things that if you go this route, everything in your life is going to be different versus you go this route?
We want to protect the public, right? And so that's why our platform is invite only.
Yeah.
It's a different peer review. My first uncredentialed doctor was my mom, and she didn't hurt me. She didn't do bad things to me. So we believe women and moms and parents and founder-led companies have the public's best interest at heart. So in the case of PepsiCo buying Siesta chips,
I heard that. I just heard that.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are more companies like that get acquired under the radar. So we want to kind of gatekeep and inform people through our news outlet and protect the people because it's for the people, by the people, like TereZa said. And so, it is female-led based because I trust a mom more than I trust PepsiCo. That's what we're doing with this platform and really curating and making sure that everyone is synergistic and everyone has, our kids' interest at heart.
And we have the translation into 51 languages, which is why our traffic is insane globally. And I'm like, yes, finally people can, really be on the same even level of what's happening in this biohacking world.
So as successful entrepreneurs, what advice do you have for aspiring content creators who are just looking to make a difference in their work?
I think what's important on the content level is providing value to others, whether that's knowledge, whether that's amplification, whether that's collaboration, providing value. A lot of people do content that's really me. And, people just want solutions. They want answers. They want to know how what you're doing can help them in whatever it is that they're trying to do. So knowledge-based content, leading with a gift in hand or information, or leading them to learning certain things or providing a service or a solution is where you should really think when you're producing content. And then also introducing people to new people. Like, for example, this podcast, right? You guys, from a marketing perspective, you guys are doing a wonderful job. You're coming into a very crowded industry, but you're coming into it intelligently.
Coming in hot.
Making it hot.
You're coming in with content. You're a part of a major documentary. You're doing your rounds at all the events. You're building relationships. You're on TV. You have a tremendous amount of brand visibility on our platform. So you're doing all the right things. You're making all the right investments, which that sends a message. What does that message say? So for people like myself, who is an entrepreneur, I'm a customer too. Just because I own a business doesn't mean I cannot buy Code Health. I will be a customer. So you are nailing it in the world of speaking to business owners and thought leaders. What do I mean by that? Well, someone that's unsure and scared and skittish, there's an expression we say in New York, scared money doesn't make money.
Right.
So when someone's holding back on talking, speaking, amplifying, marketing, branding, even things like the t-shirt, even the effort that you're doing with everything, aesthetics, that tells me as a business owner, hey, they believe in their product, they're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're polishing up, and just seeing how you're improving, you're getting smarter, and even the content that even the way the videos are edited, you could see that you are leveling up. And that alone makes me attracted to want to say, well, let me take a second look, because most people know businesses die. So you're talking to someone and seeding their brain. They're aware, but they're like, you know what? I'm not going to buy it until they might even survive next year. But when you're on an upward trajectory, you're like, you know what? I want to try this thing because they're not going away. They're well funded. So all of these things matter are a game changer in terms of how you're introducing yourself to the audience, right? How you're showing up to the party. Are you showing up with dirty sneakers and, disheveled? Most people show up to I'm a brand new business owner party that way, cheapening things. I have a series now that I'm doing on Instagram where I do bathroom reviews of bathrooms of restaurants and establishments that we go to, cafes. And, I have a good follower base of a lot of entrepreneurs, and they're all, DMing me. I'm like, yes, I get it. Some people are like, oh my God, I got to renovate my bathroom. Because the reality is I could tell where a business owner's mindset was based on what they did in the bathroom in terms of their renovations. Meanwhile, the bathroom is where every single customer is going to be at, where they have time to look. And so when they're in that bathroom and it's the rust and the dirt and the ugly tile and you could tell that the owner was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it in this business. So let me save the extra $5,000 on the bathroom and just do. So imagine what the kitchen looks like.
To add to what you're saying, also for me, what's been important is the relationship capital, right? That division, like building relationships and always being respectful and always kind of showing up in the best positive attitude and not be hating on somebody else and actually promoting other people too when they're growing. I've seen a lot of content creators, and most successful ones are the ones that have the relationship capital. And so that's something that stood out to me in addition to what Anthony said.
Well, this has been an unbelievable conversation, and we thank you also for your compliments. We met you many, many months ago, and your conversation with us was very impactful. And I think it was from that moment at the breakfast that we had with each other that we realized what Lisa and I needed to do to take code to the next level. And so we thank you for that and for that great advice. And here we are today. We have our own podcast. We have you as our guests, and it's just been an absolute pleasure. We could keep talking on and on. And
we have to bring them back, next year, or definitely next year before Shield comes out, because we're going to have to talk about that.
Yes,
sure.
We had to talk about.
We're so excited about the Shield documentary. It's really like, we're pregnant with another baby, right? This is the new baby. The launch of Biohack Yourself. We're very honored that the A4M is rolling out the red carpet for our red carpet. So that's a big deal. That A4M invite-only event, on December 15th.
We just still have to figure out what to wear. That's all. Yeah, that's all we're focused on.
What's happening before then is the shooting of Shield. So there's going to be so much leading up to that event and after that event.
She needs to shield herself from all of the endocrine disrupting chemicals that are happening, and where we understand that the women are the lifeline of the humanity. And so we want to absolutely make sure we give them all the tools.
Yeah, look, when you look at just the names of each one of these things, protect, that's a way to shield yourself, react. When you're shielding yourself, you're reacting to what's coming at you. All the different things that code stands for is really what the document.
Oh, I took the cards, our Monopoly cards.
I love it. I mean, the thought you guys put behind it makes it easier. Like, remind me what this was. Okay, this is what it does. How much I use. You guys make it so easy to use your uncoding. But back to Shield, we're so excited to uncover what it takes to really have a smooth ride as a female from the moment a girl is born to the moment we're in postmenopause. So it's not like a constant roller coaster. We get it the worst. I mean, because we have 8 hormones to regulate, where men have 1 or 2.
Like one big one, that testosterone gets in the way of everything.
Forget it. Yeah. So, definitely needing a little bit more support, because the environment, and this is what I've been saying, like the word biohacking came because the environment is hacking us, which is why we need to now biohack, actually biologically almost unhack the environmental hacks. So Shield is going to discover all of that, but not only in advice, but also solutions, tools. We're bringing on board some incredible companies like Code Health to really just let the women know, because they don't have the time to do the research. We are doing the research. We're collecting the best of the best companies, products, and experts.
Well, we are you guys. Happy we are part of your algorithm, and we truly are so grateful. Just so everybody knows, whoever is listening, how do they find the Biohack Yourself platform?
Go to biohackyourself.com. Right there. That's
right.
That. Instagram, Biohack Yourself Media.
Biohack Yourself Media. It's all there, including information about Code Health, Shield, all the documentaries, past, present, and future, all the information. We're excited about our contributor base of a mixed bag of top level of academia, PhDs. We're onboarding 2 to 3 new contributors, top of their field researchers every day.
Well, incredible work, you guys. Thanks again. And we will look forward to having you back on the show very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to the C3 podcast. Find past episodes and subscribe on our website, codehealthshop.com, or Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube.
The Code Girls appreciate discussing conscious living with inspiring guests who make a difference.
Remember, conscious living starts with conscious conversations. Until next time, be intentional, stay inspired, practice gratitude, be well, and feel the drop.